Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Kickstarter in the current year. We're nearing the end of the year and as such also sort of nearing the end of this season, if you will, as we will be moving on to the next year and everything. And I've covered a variety of different projects in this series so far. I've covered projects that were outright terrible in every possible way. I've covered projects which appeared more reasonable and seemed like they were pretty decent on the surface, but were quite crappy if you looked a bit deeper. But I hadn't yet really struck gold. I hadn't really found a project which was simultaneously outright the dumbest possible idea you can put on Kickstarter, but also, decently and sleekly enough made where people would actually buy it, but at the same time, it was very clear that every single person buying into it would have to be a frickin' moron. Well, all of that changes today. Today's project is called the Sonic Slicer. No, that is not Sonic the Hedgehog OC. It's even dumber than that because it is a knife with a tuning fork slapped inside of it. Have you ever been cooking and just like slicing through some meat and some veggies and then thought to yourself, man, this is nice and all, but I wish my knife was vibrating. And someone else in the room went, oh, you mean like an electric knife? And you said, no, I want it to be less useful than that.
Vibrations. Precision. A first-of-its-kind culinary tool to harness subsonic movement in a blade. A finely honed, alloy blade, and finely calibrated tuning fork. By itself, the knife blade captures best-in-class cutting performance, rust-resistant, stainless steel, an ergonomically shaped handle, a razor-sharp edge that can be maintained with ease.
You mean it's a knife that you can sharpen, like pretty much every other knife that exists? I understand that you have to make this selling point, that you have a knife, it's a nice knife, and it cuts things because it's sharp, because that's what knives are, and you can maintain it by sharpening it. Now, mind you, you can maintain this thing slightly less, it's probably still going to last you some time, if you discount other issues we'll get to, but it can probably last you some time, but it would actually last you a shorter amount of time than pretty much any other knife, considering there's less knife for your knife here, buddy.
A tuning fork, however, adds technology to make the Sonic Slicer unrivaled.
It adds technology, dude. Technology. The technology of a fucking tuning fork. I hope to God this doesn't end up being the next big tech trend. Used to be that you could slap a bottle opener or a window punch or AI into a freaking household appliance and be like, hey, it's got some new technology in it. I hope the next thing isn't a fucking tuning fork.
Chop, cut, or peel. Vibrational force, otherwise dissipated as noise or movement, is redirected back into the tool for your next cutting act.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. I'm just going to let you consider what the fucking product is saying, what she's claiming that this is capable of doing, and just consider that for a moment. Where do you even begin? Let's start with the fact that she's saying that the vibrations which would otherwise be transferred into sound or movement are instead put into cutting power. That's still that would still be putting it into movement. Do you think vibrations aren't movements? Okay, that's not even the most obvious issue. I'm sure you're aware of that, but it had to be said because that line in particular was really stupid. Now, I want you to imagine that you have this knife. And just as a single thought experiment, it's purely a thought experiment. Just imagine if it really works. If it really does work, that if the knife is like very, very faintly vibrating, it's going to be useful. It's going to be a better tool for cutting through things. Like Let's just imagine that is true, which isn't. It isn't, it wouldn't be, but imagine it is. Unfortunately, I don't have a tuning fork or a knife with a tuning fork built into it. However, I can sort of demonstrate a small issue with all of this using my own microphone stand. Because even if you follow along with this thought experiment I suggested, where we pretend that this would actually function if it was actually vibrating, if we pretend that way, it's still irrelevant because that's not how vibrations and a tuning fork especially works. Anyone who has held a fucking thing would know that. You see, the same principle with the vibrations would apply to anything that sort of has this, I don't know, elasticity to it, springiness. I don't know, I'm not a physicist. I think we've established that much in previous videos. But if you look at my little microphone stand here, right? I'm making sure you can see it in frame. You have these springs here. I have springs on the microphone hand. And it should be that if I strike them or like pull on them a little bit, you're going to hear something. Yeah, that should have sent some vibrations down the microphone, right? And they're pretty noticeable. They shake the entire microphone. They're going to be significantly more intense than the vibrations you would get out of the little flimsy thing on the knife, because, well, there's a whole ass spring here. But let's just say that this is the knife, this is the vibrations that is happening, and imagine that you're about to cut into something, and I have it vibrating, and oh, look at that. You noticing what happens here? Do I need to point out what happens when something is vibrating in this way and something else touches it? It fucking stops. It stops vibrating. There is no force behind it. There's no force behind the vibrations of this stupid tuning fork knife. So what's going to happen is you're going to start cutting into a piece of ham or something, and it's just going to stop. You're going to get, if the vibrations function in any way whatsoever, they will function for roughly a nanosecond before they just stop. So we can sort of immediately gather that, one, the vibrations wouldn't have enough force to really affect the cutting process in the first place. Two, the vibrations would stop the instant you started cutting into anything, so the two advantages that this freaking knife claims to have immediately fall through. It doesn't work like that. So what we're left with is this knife that has a hole in the middle of it that when you're cutting into things is going to get caught on shit, it's going to get filthy. It's not a sharp edge in the middle, it is going to get stuck in places. It's going to be a bitch to clean. It is literally just a knife that is made significantly worse by taking out a part of the knife. It's also going to be more fragile. It's going to be easier to break this knife, and it's going to be, well, slightly more difficult to sharpen it properly and maintain it. So it's an interesting investment. You kind of have to salute the people behind this project, purely because there is no way this lady has invented this thing, having worked with knives, and I'm assuming having some background in music and using these freaking tuning forks and everything in her day-to-day career, and coming out of that thinking that this shit would work. Obviously, she wouldn't think that. Nobody capable of creating this project in the first place would believe that. This is just bullshit. And I think it really sells that fact with how they set their funding goal for $250 and still set the project for like 40 days. It still has 41 days. And guess what? It has raised $2,289 as I'm recording this, with 44 backers. At least 44 fucking people have bought into this shit. They actually bought one of these, or two of these stupid goddamn knives. Imagine gifting this to someone. Imagine gifting someone, like knowing that someone is into cooking and would know their shit around the knives, and selling them gifting them one of these, and they're like explaining, no, the tuning fork. You see, the tuning fork is going to make it better. It's going to do vibrations, and then you give this to them, and then they stab you in the stomach 3 times because you deserve it. If you wanted one of these shitty knives, well, you could have gone for the early bird special, but unfortunately, those appear to be all gone. There were 27 of these, and they cost you $28, and they're all out. Now, the standard price that you can get these at, that 12 people have already purchased, is $88. No, I'm not kidding. Nearly $100, and probably $100 almost guaranteed with delivery, for the shittiest knife you will ever have in your drawer. Wow, that is some hustle. And keep in mind, that is a discount. It is discounted on Kickstarter because the official price they're planning to go for is $168. $168 for the fucking tuning fork knife. Oh, what a purchase. What a steal, actually. What an actual steal, by which I mean they're stealing your fucking money. They're robbing you if you buy this thing, and you deserve it. Notice how in their promo materials, by the way, they do show off the vibration. For some reason, they keep showing off the vibrations with water, though. How often do you cut through water in your day-to-day cooking activities? How often do you need to slice up some goddamn H2O? I'm gonna say not very often, personally.
Vibrations of a blade make cutting easier. Combine art and science with each stroke.
Art and science. Oh yeah, it's science. It is science in the same way that, like, a soda volcano is science. Yeah, it's a science project. You know, putting a tuning fork inside of a knife and then tapping it on a table, that's some science you're doing. It's fucking worthless, though. It also probably has one of the strangest stretch goals I have seen on any project. The first stretch goal is, like, it makes sense. It's for $2,000. The manufacturing process of the Sonic Slicer will begin before the campaign ends. I guess fair enough. That just means you're gonna get your stuff earlier. That's fine. That's what they're doing. But if they reach $5,000, the thickness of the blade will be increased by 15%, making the Sonic Slicer stronger and more durable? Well, hold on. Why would there be an issue with strength and durability? Usually knives don't have that, like, as an issue. Like, sure, they might be, like, a selling point where they're very strong and durable, and in fact, you actually claimed in your videos that it's, like, all the best possible quality and very durable, so what's the issue? Why do you need to make it thicker? Could it possibly be because there's a gaping hole in the middle of your stupid knife? Well, I mean, surely it can't be made thicker to help with the cutting or anything, to make it heavier to help cutting, because that's what the vibrations are for, right? So clearly, you're admitting to something being a little bit of an issue with your stupid knife's design. Oh, man. And yet, it's successful. More than 40 people have already bought this thing. I guarantee you more will buy into it because the video is, like, decent enough. The project looks decent enough where if you have no idea about what you're purchasing and you have no idea about how anything ever works, sure, someone might look at this project and be like, that seems pretty decent. Vibrations, science, wow, and then actually, like, buy it, and, like, they wouldn't tell the difference. They'd probably get some placebo effect where they think they're cutting, like, more smoothly or whatever, but they're obviously not. This project is kind of amazing, though. Props to the people that made it. Great bullshit salesmen they are, and you gotta applaud them. That's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I made sure not to include any Mariah Carey parodies in this one. It seems like I might have lost like 5 subscribers from doing the last one, so that's a lesson learned. And I'll see you next time, which will be Christmas. Jesus Christ, man. Oh yeah, it's his birthday. Fuck. But there's a lot wrong just with the title and the picture. It looks, I don't know, there's something about this art style combined with the title of this that it feels like it's a meet and fuck game. Hey, maybe there's a lot more information we can glean from the project description. So let's check the story section. Hi, my name is Daniel Brown. I have self-published a series of 3 Christmas-themed children's picture books called Dink Winkleman Christmas Stocking Stuffer. Dink Winkleman has been chosen by Santa